Wonderful. My name is Diane Thompson. I am one of the dual enrollment advisors who serves Alvin ISD with Alvin Community College. So each of our high schools does have a dedicated advisor within Alvin ISD. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. I'm going to turn my camera off so we really can focus on the presentation. When the presentation's over, I'll be happy to turn it back on just to kind of let y'all know where we're going. So with dual enrollment, we do have 4 advisors who work with Alvin ISD. Ms. Hilliard is at Alvin High School. Ms. Hurtado serves Iowa Colony High School and homeschool. Mr. Morton serves Shadow Creek High School. And of course, I work, my site is Manville High School. We do have some main campus contacts. Our main campus contacts are Dr. Jessica Renero Ramirez. She is our Dean of College and Access Partnerships. Charmel Archie is our Director of Dual Enrollment. Michaela Canales Geiger, she's our Dual Enrollment Specialist. If for some reason you can't reach any of us, Ms. Canales Geiger can help you. And Linda Smith as well. So that's their contact information. So of course, we're all here. What is dual enrollment? What exactly is it? So dual meaning 2, that means that your student is earning credits for high school in 2 places. So Alvin Community College has partnered with the local ISD, and students can earn high school credit and college credit at the same time. So dual enrollment students are enrolled in 2 educational institutions at the same time. They're enrolled in their high school and they're also enrolled at the college, right? Dual enrollment courses are generally speaking taught at the high school campus during the school day. They're part of the student's schedule. After completing dual enrollment admissions, of course, we do have students who maybe will pick up some courses online or take courses during the summer. But the vast majority of our dual enrollment students access that on their high school campus. Why would students choose to take dual enrollment? Over 88% of our dual enrollment students go on to college to complete their degrees at a much higher rate and in less time than non-participating peers. The other thing we look at is college success rates after their first year. Their GPAs are higher for students entering college with dual credit. And so that's not saying a completed degree. That's just saying if your student has earned 15 hours, which is 5 semester classes, just those 15 hours are going to statistically make it more likely that your student will have a higher GPA in college and complete their degree. Currently, dual enrollment students make up over 47% of ACC's total enrollment. So Alvin Community College is highly invested in the dual enrollment program and in the success of dual enrollment students. More reasons that students might want to consider dual enrollment. Of course, students will earn college credit and high school credit at the same time. It also provides an opportunity for students to learn, it says academic, social, and time management skills needed for university success, but really those are the soft skills that will make students successful in college. Being able to self-advocate, being able to have meaningful conversations with professors, really getting acclimated to what it is to be a university level student. It does allow students to sort of prepare for the rigors of college level work as opposed to high school level work. It gives our first generation students, college education and experiences before they enter a fully university setting. Also encourages the development of critical thinking skills with their students. Of course, dual enrollment has some tremendous financial benefits. My daughter went through dual enrollment. We absolutely were very grateful for the opportunity. So if you think of 1 3-hour college class, I'm going to use English 1301 as an example. As a dual enrollment class, that is 1 semester of English. English 1301 is a foundational course for any 4-year degree. If you were taking that as a dual enrollment cost, it might total cost you about $175 for that one class. That same 1 3-hour class at Alvin Community College after high school graduation is going to run you about $500. If you were going to take that same English 1301 class at the University of Texas after high school graduation, we're looking at $1,800. And even if you were a little bit closer to home at University of Houston, that same English 1301 course is going to run you about $1,600. So there is a tremendous cost savings for completing some dual enrollment while you're in high school. Why do students choose to be in the dual enrollment program? It helps them get ahead, right? It does help save time and money. For example, if a student completes 15 hours, that's one semester of college done. So that's some time that they can save. We do have students who complete 60 hours. That's a 2-year degree. Those are hours they don't have to retake after high school graduation. It can, of course, it can boost the GPA. You can learn how to be a successful college student. And of course, it does help you stand out to scholarships, committees, colleges, and universities. If you can demonstrate that you're being successful at a college level while you're still in high school and maintaining a high GPA, that really speaks to your ability to sort of time manage and be a student. What kinds of students take dual enrollment classes? So this is one I would strongly encourage parents and students to have honest conversations about where they are academically, right? So a successful dual enrollment student should already, right now, be highly motivated, right? They should be able to stick to a goal, be able to meet deadlines, have above average grades, possess already good study habits, and have a high level of maturity. If your student is currently an 8th grader and they're struggling with these skills, then starting college and starting high school at the same time may not be a good fit. So be very thoughtful when you and your student decide if we're going to start college and high school at the same year. So a dual degree is, and I do see we have some questions about AP courses and dual enrollment and transfers, and I'll be answering those here shortly. That is in the presentation, right? So a dual degree is, Alvin Community College currently offers an Associate of Arts in General Studies. So if you think about people talking about, I'm going to go to ACC to get my basics, these are the basics that we're talking about. We do opt for the general studies because so many of our students can then diversify from there. A student who might be going into health science or business or STEM, this is a good launching off point. So this degree plan is the one that's going to help the most students. Now, certainly not every student's dual enrollment plan is going to look like this. For example, the 11th and 12th grade year is very heavy with dual enrollment courses. But when I look at 9th grade, I generally do not advise a 9th grader to take 4 college classes and do that at the same time that they're taking high school. Starting high school and starting college at the same time is a big deal. All of the advisors are happy to meet with 8th grade students during the course selection process to kind of map out an individual degree plan for the students. I know all my current students at Mayville High School who are pursuing a degree have access to their degree plan. So this is just sort of gives you a general idea of what getting your 2-year degree and high school at the same time would look like. All right, I think that someone asked this question in the chat, transfer of credit, right? And so Texas public colleges and universities will accept transfer credit from Alvin Community College as long as the student earns a final grade of C or higher. So they might get a high school credit for a D, but in order for any grades to transfer, it's got to be a C or higher. But frankly, if your student is struggling with a C or a D, hopefully prior to that time, we've had a conversation about, is dual enrollment a good fit, right? Private colleges and universities and out-of-state colleges and universities, they can do what they want. They can accept the hours, they cannot accept the hours. ACC cannot predict that. So certainly, like if your student is decided I'm going to LSU, or if they've decided I'm going to Southwestern University of Georgetown, which is a private school and an out-of-state school, during that selection process and that admission process, it would be a good time to have that conversation with your next institution. This one also might be jumping the gun a little bit, but students who leave dual enrollment, whether they complete a degree or whether they are taking 15 hours, they always apply to college as a freshman. They do not apply as a transfer student. A transfer student is a totally different thing than what we're looking at. So dual enrollment, whether you take 3 hours or 60 hours, you will apply as a freshman, a first year student. Okay. Okay. Well, here we go. Here's another question from the chat. The difference between AP and dual enrollment. Y'all, I'm not going to read this whole entire thing word for word. I'm going to try and summarize it for you as best as I can. Both the courses, dual enrollment and AP, are courses that are more rigorous than a standard high school level course, right? Dual enrollment courses are taught by professors or credentialed professors. AP courses are taught by teachers, right? And dual enrollment courses can be taken obviously in person on the high school campus. Once you reach a certain age, you can access it on the ACC campuses. You can also take the courses online. AP classes are strictly available at the high school campus. So I think the biggest determining factor and the things that my students struggle with understanding the most. With a dual enrollment class, you're going to work, like I'm going to use English 1301 again. You're going to work all of semester one to get your English 1301 coursework, right? And at the end of that semester, all of the work you've done over the semester is going to help you arrive at a certain grade, like say a B. You're going to get a B, you're going to get the college credit for it. An AP exam, the college does not look at any of the coursework that you do during the school year. The only thing that the college looks at is your score on that AP exam. So if a student with Alvin Community College, if a student earns a 3 or better on the AP exam, and Alvin Community College awards credit for that AP class, then the student can get the college hours on their ACC transcript, right? So the big difference really is kind of this all or nothing thing. You're either going to make a 3 or better on that test and get your hours or not. So, if your student is a great test taker, then AP for sure is the way to go. Most of my dual enrollment students do a blend, right? They do some AP hours and they do dual enrollment, which is fine. That's absolutely what we expect. A combination is absolutely something that we can do. Federal Education Rights to Privacy Act. This is something that is challenging for adults. Once students enroll as a college student, regardless of their age, even if we're talking about someone who just finished 8th grade, once they're enrolled as a college student, their family education rights to privacy come online as if they were 18-year-old adults, which is hard to get my head around as a mom. That means if I have a parent who calls me and says, hey, I need to talk to you about my student's failing grade, I can't discuss that with the parent unless the student has completed the FERPA waiver, which is available in the student's pod account, right? So the student has to set that up. The student has to enter the name of the individual they want to share their information with, and then assign a PIN number. So this is one of the things that is a huge difference between dual enrollment and high school. I will tell you, all of the advisors work very carefully to help parents get as much information as they need, as we can provide, without breaking the law. So your advisors aren't trying to be slippery. They're trying to avoid breaking the law. I do work with students all the time and help them fill that FERPA waiver out. So that's just one of the, I don't know, maybe one of the surprising differences that parents have encountered. All right, so currently ACC in the state of Texas are working in concert with this FAST financial aid. So FAST means the financial aid for swift transfer. It allows public institutions of higher education to offer dual credit courses to educationally disadvantaged students at no cost to these students. So if a student meets both of these requirements, then all of the costs associated with the courses, that means the tuition, the fees, the books are, all of those costs are taken care of by the college and the state of Texas, right? So students have to meet both of these requirements. They have to be admitted to a dual credit program. That means you've gone through the admissions process and you're registered in a class at a public school, and you qualify for the National Free Reduced Price Lunch in any of the 4 school years prior to enrolling in the dual credit course. So it's so important. We encourage our families to please fill out those that lunch form application information at the beginning of the school year. If a student, so for example, if a student, they look at the 4 school years prior. So if you're currently a 9th grader, then they would look at 4 years prior to 9th grade to see if you would qualify for FAST financial aid. Now then, the college does not determine who qualifies for FAST. The college and the ISD submit the information to the state of Texas, and we wait. We wait for the state of Texas to make a determination, and then we move forward from there. So, if you don't know your student's lunch status, certainly that's something you could get from your student's school. But again, we submit the information to the state, and we're at the mercy of the state. We wait for them to make a decision. All right, so how do we get started, right? Because certainly that's one of the questions that we want to know. The students need to apply to Alvin Community College. After you've applied to the college and you have an ACC ID number, then we need to look at taking the TSIA exam or providing an exemption. So the TSIA is a college entrance exam. It's looking at reading, writing, and math. Once you've met the college readiness score, then you can move on through the class. TSI is offered at the college, at the high schools, and some of the junior highs. When we talk about exemptions, we're looking at either the ACT or the SAT. So for most students in grade 8, 9, and 10, the ACT and SAT is not going to help us out. We're looking for the TSI. Students then need to sign and submit the dual enrollment contract. That's something that's going to be available online. Attend new student orientation, attend onboarding, pay for courses. Steps 1 and 2, application and testing, have to be complete by April 1st in order for students to join dual enrollment next year. And that little item highlighted at the bottom is something that many of our students missed last year. Students must request dual enrollment courses during the Alvin ISD course selection process. At some point, your student will meet with a counselor and they'll say, okay, let's pick our classes for next year. If your student has applied to the college and has taken the TSI but never asks to take a dual enrollment course during the course selection process, then they're not going to get in, right? Let me look at the, I just had a question come through on when's the earliest you can start dual enrollment. You must complete 8th grade before you start dual enrollment. So the earliest we have students starting dual enrollment is the summer after they complete 8th grade. All right, I think someone asked earlier about what is the TSI, TSIA2. I'm going to say it's not in line with, or it's not similar to the PSAT. I think that was one of the questions, simply because the PSAT at one point was used as a measure to put students in dual enrollment, but the state rescinded that. So at some point, the state made a determination that the TSIA2, the SAT, and the ACT were the only measures that they would be using. So the TSIA2, y'all, I'm guilty of this. I feel like everyone associated with this testing is guilty of this. We'll call it anything. TSI, TSIA, TSIA2, it's all the same wetness. It's a diagnostic exam that covers reading, writing, and math. There are study guides and practices available online. I would say check with your ACC advisor to confirm which sections you must complete. However, if your student is brand new, I would advise doing the reading and writing first. In Alvin ISD, we cannot take a math class until we've completed Algebra 2. You can't take a college math until you've completed Algebra 2. So a good starting point would be the ELAR plus essay. After you've met those standards, then move on to the math. So the scores required for English language arts, ELAR plus essay, that's sort of a 2-part test, even though it's considered a single section. On the multiple choice English language arts portion, you need a 945 or higher. And on the essay, you need a 5 or better. Now, the test does have some diagnostics within it. And if you make a diagnostic score of 5 or 6 and your essay is still 5 or better, then that's considered college ready. The math is much more simple. The math is a 950 or better, 950 or better, or a diagnostic score of 6. How to take the TSI A2? If you are currently in 8th grade, check with your junior high. If you're currently in high school, you can check obviously with your high school. You can see in this little chart, Alvin High School, Iowa Colony, Manville, Shadow Creek. Upcoming test dates. I know that Manville has more coming up in the spring, but they have completed their TSI fall. You also, of course, can test at the college. But again, for the TSI testing, your student needs to have an Alvin Community College student ID number. That means they must complete the application first. Again, you must have the ACC ID number. If you want to test with Alvin Community College, you can go to the Alvin Community College homepage, and then up at the top, click on Marketplace and Testing. That graphic is what you would look for. You would look for one of those little price tags that says TSIA single section on campus or online. If you're going to test in person, you can only do a single section. The test is administered at the ACC Main Campus Testing Center. If the student is 16 or younger, there must be an adult with the student on campus during the testing. Your student can do online TSI testing. They can do the full test, that means reading, writing, and math, or they can do single section, just reading and writing, or just math. Again, you register through Marketplace. You have to have a computer, microphone, strong internet connection. That online testing works with a third party, and so you and your student will have to coordinate testing between the college and the Measure Learning and yourself. So there is a little bit more of that coordination piece on the student. To get students ready for taking the TSI, if your student is interested in taking a TSI boot camp, we are offering some boot camps in the spring. It's $15 per section, and each section is 2 hours. We have first come, first serve basis. We have 60 spaces available. Again, I will go back to, you do need to have your Alvin Community College student ID in order to register for one of these boot camps. So they do not have the registration open yet. That's why there's not a link. But if you want to look at those dates, we have it here at Manville High School on Saturday, February 14th. And then you can also register to take the TSI at the college on Monday. Monday is a day that Alvin ISD does not have school. We're also going to have boot camp at Manville Saturday, March 21st, and then testing on Monday, March 23rd at ACC. So any student who is attending an Alvin ISD high school, right? So the location is Manville High School, but if you go to Shadow Creek, if you go to Iowa Colony, you're welcome. You're welcome to register for this boot camp. So for the TSI, you do need to make sure you complete a pre-assessment activity. If you're going to sign up with your high school, they'll have directions for that. If you're going to sign up with the college, there will be a link for that. The pre-assessment activity is just a training activity, so students know how to operate the testing platform. Of course, they're going to ask some academic questions. The questions aren't going to be necessarily academically rigorous. The purpose for the pre-assessment activity, or the PAA, is that your student is comfortable with that testing platform. All testers must present a photo ID when testing. If you're going to test at Alvin Community College and your student does not have a photo ID, they will decline testing. So it's important that your student bring a photo ID. Their school-issued student ID works. If they have a passport, that works, but they have to have a photo ID. And then when you register for the TSI, all of your test day details are provided. So it's very important if you register that you're reading everything during the registration process. So the application and the testing must be completed by April 1st to make sure that you have a spot in dual enrollment for next year. April 1st is a very firm deadline. That means you have asked for the classes during the course selection process, you have completed your application, and you have completed your testing. Right. Well, let's go to the next one. So these are the advisors, right, that work for Alvin ISD. I talked about that earlier. I'm going to leave that up on the screen. I'm going to try and scroll through some of these questions really quickly to see if there's anything that I missed. Credits valid for any college or university or only selected in Texas. In the state of Texas, it's Texas public colleges and universities. Outside of Texas and private colleges and universities do what they want. Can classes be taken over the summer for dual enrollment? Yes, I would generally advise your student needs to meet with an advisor if that's what they're planning to do. You want to be very deliberate about what you're taking over the summer. So yes, you can take them over the summer, but of course, if you're planning on taking courses this summer, that means, again, by April 1st, you need to have your application, your testing, everything needs to be done. Let's see, who would help us enroll the child parents, or who would guide us enrollment daughters in 10th grade, have a son in 7th grade? So, certainly the application portion, right, you can get that completed, and the testing portion, you can get that completed on your own. As far as selecting courses, the advisors, the dual enrollment advisors, are available during that course selection process. I'll give you for example, last year with our 8th graders, I went to all of the meetings that our feeder campuses have at Naval High School when the counselors meet with 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders. We're also in those meetings. So I would say take care of the application, take care of the testing. Of course, I don't want to cut the high school counselors out of the loop. Generally speaking, I have high school counselors all the time send students to me, and I work with them that way. If your student wants to go to a course that's not listed, that list was absolutely not a comprehensive list. That was just colleges that we've worked with in the past. So if they're not listed, then the student needs to do research on their target college or university. So the grades don't get posted in Skyward. Oh, that's a great question. I would absolutely refer you to the Alvin ISD. They have a course selection guide that details how dual enrollment grades are posted and shared. Generally speaking, the students' grades are reported in Blackboard, which is the college operating system. Once the course is complete, then that final grade, and only that final grade, gets posted in Skyward. So if a parent is wanting to do a mid-semester check on their student's progress, they need to ask their student, hey, open up your Blackboard, let's look at your grades, show me what you're doing. That's a great question. Is there a certain point where it's no longer an option? Is it too late? I'd like to say really and truly, it's only too late November of your senior year, right? And even then. So is it unrealistic to think a student is going to complete a degree if they start spring of their 11th grade year? Yes, that's unrealistic. But could a student still start their senior year? Absolutely. You know, if your student can get English 1301, they can get dual credit English their senior year, they could get a dual credit math their senior year, they could do a dual credit government and economics their senior year. No, it's absolutely not too late. Now, I would encourage your student to consider getting to that 15-hour mark, which is 5 one-semester courses, because that's going to give them a full semester of college. But no, it is not too late. Oh, let's see. Oh, Judith is adding some things in here. Earliest grade you can start dual enrollment. I feel like we answered that. How many dual enrollment courses can or should you take as a freshman? That's a great question, right? So my experience with the high school counselors is that they are wonderful, and they're tremendously focused on helping our students prioritize high school graduation requirements. We certainly don't want a student their senior year, okay, I'm about to get my degree, but I haven't finished my high school graduation requirements. So generally speaking, in 9th and 10th grade, you are going to spend a lot of time trying to get as many of your high school graduation requirements as you can. I do have students who are taking 2 dual enrollment classes in the fall and 2 dual enrollment classes in the spring, and that is a lot. It's generally Spanish, semester 1 and 2, and then learning frameworks and intro to Mass Comm. 4 classes, 9th grade year is a lot. I would say adding one in the fall and one in the spring is a good way for your student to kind of acclimate and see what they want to do then going forward. Summer days. Are there any summer dates given? Their son is currently an 8th grader. So summer registration will start in April, right? ACC does have their summer school dates posted. I do not have a link, but I can tell you that dual enrollment summer school classes session 1 goes from June 1st to July 6th, and summer 2 goes from July 8th to August 11th. However, if your student is an 8th grader, they can still complete a degree if they don't start dual enrollment. If they don't start dual enrollment that 8th grade summer, that's a lot. That's a lot to do. Can middle schoolers attend the boot camp? We have not opened that up to middle school students that I know of. I think we may have had some 8th graders. So yes, potentially 8th graders, but like 6th and 7th graders, no. Ms. Passarella, this is being shared, this presentation, correct?
Yes, I already responded. Yes, it will be shared, the presentation, the slideshow, and also the recording of this workshop.
Thank you. How does a student register to test at the high school? So we have 4 different high schools. So of course, you know, there's 4 different methods to sign up for their test. I think that I would say either have your student go to the dual enrollment advisor on campus or go to their high school counselor. Either one of those people on your student's campus can help direct them to where they register at the high school. Can 8th graders register for ACC if they plan to pursue dual enrollment in 9th grade and also want to attend the spring TSI test prep classes? Yes, your current 8th grader can absolutely fill out their application right now, and they'll get their ACC ID number. And then once the spring test prep sessions open, as of right now, I don't know that they are limiting it to current high school students. The fall, I know we had some 8th graders in the fall. I have no way to know what they're going to decide moving forward. So if I were a parent of an 8th grader, I would have it all ready to go if that's what your intention is. That's a good solid maybe, I guess. Can an 8th grader apply at ACC for summer 2026? I feel like we've answered this. As long as they've done the application and the testing, and then each high school campus, each high school advisor has a different method for those students reaching out to get registered for summer courses. Is there a course list of what is being offered for dual credit? Where can I find the list? That's a great question, right? So I would have to go do a little link research, but there is a link that I absolutely can share with you. I'll put it in let me put it in the comments. Currently I'm waiting for my computer here to come up. Currently a 10th grader in AP classes, would he have to take all dual enrollment classes? Fantastic question. So ACC has just recently moved to allowing students to earn up to 75% of their 60 hours through AP. So a student would have to take some dual enrollment courses, right? You wouldn't get out of that, but you may not have to take the full 60 hours with ACC. You might be able to get to some with your AP hours. Again, for that situation, I would say your student for sure needs to talk to the advisor or to the advanced academic specialist on your campus to kind of sit down and figure out what it is that we need to do. Y'all, I cannot get to the course list. So for the family who is asking about the course list, it is on the ACC dual enrollment website. Maybe Miss Anna can drop that link into the chat.
Yes, I'm trying to go, but it won't let me either. So
that makes me feel so much better. I thought it was just me. Yes. I was like, oh, operator error.
I just sent the link, but for some reason I know that we in Alvin ISD, we have some powerful firewalls that are preventing us to do so. Maybe parents try and see if you can do this. But if no, I will make sure to send it when I send the presentation. Okay.
Thank you. Someone was asking about a current sixth grader. At what grade level can she apply? Students can start applying in eighth grade, and they can start taking courses the summer after eighth grade is complete. I'm not sure if that's a question. Let's see. Oh, Miss Judith is in here helping out. Thank you, Judith. Let's see. If a student wants to pursue nursing, accounting, is the dual enrollment helpful? So I will say this, pardon me. We offer an Associate of Arts in General Studies. And so when you think about your student getting the basics, right, the college core, that's mostly what we are offering. So like an English 1301 class, for example, pretty much every next degree plan is going to ask for English 1301. If your student is going to pursue nursing, then your student might want to consider sociology electives, psychology elective. But if your student is interested in business, at Naval High School, we offer dual enrollment accounting. So really for that, we would look at the electives. What college electives is your student selecting? Is there a limit on how many classes a student can take with dual enrollment? Our limit is 18 hours per semester. Alvin ISD also has limited grade levels for courses. For example, English 1301, you must be currently enrolled in grade 11 or 12 to take English 1301. So the school district and the partnership we have with them, the school district has put some limits on grade level. We would not have a 9th grader or a 10th grader taking 18 hours. Would we have an 11th or 12th grader taking 18 hours? Yes. Let's see. Oh, let's scanning through here. When should students begin taking dual enrollment courses in order to complete their associates by graduation? I would say no later than 10th grade, right? That's going to give your student a little cushion. I do have students, though, that I saw at the end of their 10th grade year, and they were like, oh my gosh, I've just decided I need to try and do it all in 2 years. And so the advisors work with the students to put together as much as we possibly can to get them there. I certainly would not delay past 11th grade. Would entrance exams have to be taken again if a student completes one semester but doesn't enroll in dual enrollment classes for another semester? That's a fantastic question. TSI scores are good for 5 years. So if your student is an 8th grader and they meet the passing standard for the reading and writing, they're done. They don't have to take the reading and writing TSI again. So once you have those TSI scores or those SAT scores or those ACT scores, then you're done. Can you talk about how dual enrollment works for students with 504 or testing classwork? Any information would be helpful. So for students who receive services under Section 504 or need any sort of accommodations, we do have student accessibility services. I will caution you on that, right? So if your student qualifies for that, I always encourage those students to sign the FERPA waiver early, because the advisors do not drive any of that student accessibility services piece. It is incumbent upon the student to reach out to student accessibility services at the college, to bring their paperwork, to meet with student accessibility services, and really drive that themselves. And so when I work with students who qualify for services, I always ask them, make sure that you have a FERPA waiver signed so that your parent can help you in that conversation with the college. My experience has been that accommodations at the college level are not as robust, maybe as students are used to at the high school level. Let's see. If a student goes to a university outside of the list, if it's Texas Public College or University, and the final grade is C or higher, it will transfer. If it's a private college or university or out of state, then that is going to be whatever that institution determines. Oh my gosh, Ms. Passarelli, you might want to help me with this one. Does dual enrollment affect the GPA differently than AP classes? So that is a determination of Alvin ISD, right? Alvin ISD sets that GPA weighting at the high school level. At the college level, it's a very simple GPA. It's A is a 4, B is a 3, C is a 2, D is a 1, F is a 0. As far as how it interacts with the school district, I would strongly recommend looking at the course selection guide with Alvin ISD.
Yes, I don't have the answer to that, but again, I'm taking notes, and when I share these with you via email with everybody, I will make sure to include the responses to those questions that were no answered today. Okay.
Oh, y'all, we're getting here to the end of the questions. Although if you've got some more, we can certainly take them. What happens if a student takes the TSI A2, gets admitted to ACC, but never takes a dual credit class? Do they have to withdraw or notify ACC? Which is a wonderful question. All of the applications are deactivated after 1 calendar year if a student does not take classes. So no, student certainly does not need to notify. The TSI A2 scores, those are attached to your student's information in AccuPlacer, the College Board, right? So that's an outside independent contractor, right? The College Board. So once your student has passed the TSI A2, those scores belong to your student to take wherever they want to go. Where do we go to watch for the TSI boot camp sign up link for when it opens? So I think that someone posted possibly the dual enrollment. Ms. Passarella posted the link for the dual enrollment website. I would absolutely start looking at that by mid-January. They should have it posted. I would also anticipate, I know that we're constantly sending information out to our partner campuses and asking them to share information with parents via Skyward. So it may also come out in that as well. The general time frame for the summer program, right? So all testing and application needs to be complete by April 1st for that, right? Summer 1 runs from May 26th to July 6th, and summer 2 is July 8th to August 12th. Registration for dual enrollment summer school is going to open April 8th. So I would definitely have everything ready to go by April 8th, and then they'll send information out on that. Okay. Y'all had some wonderful questions. Do we have anything else for any other questions? Judith, thank you for your help. Do you want to get on here and say hello?
I'm going to open the mics now, just in case somebody wants to. Hold on. Let me open. Give me just a second. Okay, now the mics are open. If anybody wants to add anything or ask any questions, I have already opened the mics. And I answered the question about the GPA. I found it on the last year workshop that we did. So grades earned in dual enrollment courses are included in a student high school GPA and are worth up to 5 points.
Hi, I have a question, and my apologies because I missed the response. I was in my car. If a student chooses a university not listed on the Texas or the Houston area school list, how does that work?
So with dual enrollment courses from Alvin Community College, if your student earns a C or better in their dual enrollment course, then in the state of Texas at a public college or university, then that grade will transfer. Anything that is not a Texas public college university, like if your student wants to go to LSU or if your student wants to go to Trinity, right, then during that college search process, that's a conversation that you and your student would need to have or do some research with their next institution. Alvin Community College cannot speak for any college or university outside of the Texas public school system, right? It's an agreement with public colleges and universities about that transferability, but outside of the state of Texas, they can do what they want. And private colleges and universities, they can also kind of do what they want.
So I'm sorry, but would Rice University be in that as well?
Right, Rice is a private university, right?
Oh, I see.
And
It's
so
not public.
they
Okay.
right, and so they may or may not. I mean, the bottom line is for Rice, it's a business model, and I can either charge you to take English 1301, or I can accept the English 1301 you already have, right?
Okay.
So it gets a little slippery with private colleges and universities.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, but then I just saw you went on mute, Miss Adkins. Okay, go ahead.
My daughter is a junior. She takes AP classes, and we haven't enrolled yet. Do you think she would be able to be complete by graduation next year if she does summer as well?
I'm not going to hold out something I can't promise, right? So I would have to,
Right.
if she's a Mabel High School student or any other student, she would need to meet with her advisor and have her AP score report with her to sit down and look and see what AP scores do you have and what can we match them up with? What are you planning to take your senior year? What could you do for your senior year and for summer? I do think it would be worth your students' time to explore that, even if your student cannot get to 60 hours, because we also have the competing factor of senior year. And senior year, sometimes our students maybe are not as motivated as they were before. But it might be worth your students' time to say, look, I can't leave with 60 hours, but could I leave with 30? That's still 1 year of college you don't have to pay for.
Right.
So I think it would be a worthwhile meeting for your student.
Okay, so she should definitely hit up Miss Hillard at Alvin High School and get started on that.
I would strongly encourage your student to send Miss Hilliard an email and kind of let her know, here's what I'm looking at. When can we set up a meeting?
Great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have another question as well, and
Yes,
forgive
ma'am.
me again. So this opportunity propels our students to become like a sophomore once they enter college if they elected, say, U of H?
Right. I'm going to go ahead and use an example from my personal experience because I have a
Okay.
child who went through dual enrollment, right? So while she was in high school, she completed her Associate of Arts in General Studies. She got to 60 hours. That's how many hours you need to complete the degree plan. When she applied to her next college she applied as a first-year student. She did not apply as a transfer student. And when she completed her first semester, so at the end of her fall semester at her new college or university, they migrated all 60 hours over. And so at the end of her freshman year in college, she went from freshman status to junior status. One of the things I think I'm grateful that she was ready for, she knew what she wanted to study. She did not have 2 years to kind of figure out what I want to do, because when she got there after high school, she immediately went into those upper level junior and senior courses. And so dual enrollment is wonderful, but if your student is someone who maybe is not really certain what they want to do, I think I need a little time to explore. If you go to a 4-year college program and you have 2 years done, you're not going to be taking any of those entry level classes. You're going to start taking classes in your major.
That was a great example. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I have a question. Just
Okay.
based on your example, just curious, did your child start dual enrollment in 9th grade to get this to the 60 credit hours?
Oh, that's a great question, Ms. Bailey. Thank you. So my experience was the school district we attended did not let 9th graders take dual enrollment courses. Again, I've seen it and I've said it. It's a lot to start college and high school at the same year. She started in 10th grade taking courses. It was not really her intention until her junior year, and then she figured out that's what she wanted to do. Fortunately or unfortunately, she was class of 2020 and the pandemic hit. So she ended up taking as many online courses as she could during that time. So it was not her intention, but I feel like she woke up at the beginning of her junior year to really start targeting the correct classes. And I tell my students this all the time, you're not going to accidentally stumble upon the correct 60 hours, which is why it's really important to meet with your advisor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Of course.
Okay, so if I have, if I have any questions, whether like maybe my daughter, because she's in 10th grade, if she will be a good fit for the dual enrollment, who do I get in touch with? The counselor, because I think they have like a plan, like like a 4-year plan since I guess since ninth grade, or the dual enrollment advisor to see like if she's a candidate or.
Like well, who do I talk with about this, right? If your student already knows, I will say that all of the advisors work very closely with the high school counselors. Our high school counselors are very supportive. They're very well versed in the dual enrollment program. If your student already has like a relationship with a counselor, I would start there and have that conversation. At Mayville High School, they will speak with their students and funnel them to me. If a student speaks with me first, right, I look at all the information I can find, and then I make sure I loop the counselor in. So, at no point would either one of those people not be included in that. I know students do have 4-year plans in Skyward, and we do have to work with what's already in there. And so I would say either one, either their advisor or their counselor.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question in regards to the FERPA waiver. If I said that correctly.
Yes.
Where do you find it? I'm trying to find it online.
That's a great question. So right now it's embedded inside the students, inside their pod account, right?
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I don't know if the internet has come back up for me or not, but I think oh gosh, it has. So on that dual enrollment website, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that under important student information. There's something that says, what is FERPA?
Okay.
You can follow that link. And there is like a PDF that has instructions on how to set it up, but it has to be set up inside the student pod account.
Understood. Once you've actually become registered with Alvin Community College.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Once
Okay.
your student has their ID and they have their pod account, then absolutely can set it up.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Okay.
My student, she's already at JBH, but it's for culinary arts and it's for the dual credits. So all we have to do is just enroll like in English, algebra, or whatever the things are that you have to take to get to the 60 hours.
That's a great question. So with Alvin Community College and Alvin ISD, they've got that partnership. They've got a CTE partnership, and then they've got more of the academic partnership. So if your student is taking courses with ACC in the culinary program at JV Hensler, they have already completed their application to the college. Fantastic. So their next step then would be to take care of the testing, right? Unfortunately, those CTE hours, those are on a certification track, which is different from the 60-hour Associate of Arts and General Studies. I have had students complete both. It is quite a challenge, right? So certainly, I don't know like what grade level or how much dual enrollment your student's taken. It would certainly be worth your students' time to look and see, if I can't get to 60 hours, can I get to core complete? Can I knock out 15 hours? What can I do before I graduate from high school?
Okay, I'll do that because she's a junior now. I know she won't be getting the 60 because we're so close to senior year, but the more the merrier.
Right. And it may be smart to get that math done and to get that English done, or even just to get the English done. That English 1301 is one of the greatest. Completing that in high school is one of the biggest predictors for being successful in college and completing college after high school. So that's a very important class.
Okay, so that's the route we'll take.
Yes, ma'am. Some questions, some typed in questions have come in. Let's see. Is this information for 7th graders? I mean, certainly you can put this information on your 7th graders' radar, but really it's not going to become a reality to them until they start selecting their high school classes in 8th grade. If you want to try for 60 hours, can you still participate in things such as band athletics? Do they have to choose? Here's the thing. We've got Of course, the students who are doing extracurricular, right, like students in band and dance and athletics, they want to do it all. And we love that. We work with our students, which is why I'm like, don't wait until after 10th grade if you're doing all these things. We want to try and help our students to participate in the extracurriculars and get their degree. My experience has been at Mayville High School, generally speaking, if you have other obligations like band and athletics, the reality of your life is if you're trying to get that Associate of Arts in General Studies, you're going to take some summer school. But for many students, that's worth it to them. Can Fairview students speak to you? I believe that the Fairview students actually work with Miss Hilliard. Even if for some reason they end up at another high school, Miss Hilliard is the advisor who works with Fairview. If I'm correct, you're suggesting not to start dual enrollment in 9th grade. Okay, that's a great question, right? So of course your student can start dual enrollment in 9th grade. I would just encourage you as a parent to be very judicious about making that decision, right? Know where your student is academically, know how they are. That slide about is my, what makes a good dual enrollment student. Make that decision very deliberately. What breaks my heart when I work with 9th graders is it's October of their 9th grade year and they're failing a college class because starting college and high school at the same time was not a good fit. And it's a student who I believe could complete a degree, but they're having that experience of not being successful. I really want to set our students up to be as successful as they can. So that is, we've got lots of 9th graders in dual enrollment. But I do have a handful where they've taken more than they're ready for. So just as a parent, you and your student, just make that decision deliberately. Do you know the equivalent amount of AP classes versus dual enrollment classes needed for an associate's degree? So you can earn up to 45 hours of the 60-hour program via advanced placement tests. However, not every advanced placement class offered in Alvin ISD will earn hours towards an associate's. For example, we have a class, I've seen students take a class called AP Seminar. That's not something that ACC awards credit. I've seen, I want to say AP European History. That's not one that ACC awards credit for. So it's really not a hard and fast rule. I would definitely sit down with the advisor or the counselor and try and figure that out. My student is in 8th grade but wants to wait till 10th grade to start dual enrollment. Then do we need to do anything now? Okay, that is a great question. That's entirely up to you. If your student as an 8th grader fills out the application and takes the TSI, if your student passes the TSI, then that's fine. Those scores don't go anywhere. That might be one less thing for your student to need to do during 9th grade. The application would go dormant after a year, but then you would just need to reapply. So, it certainly wouldn't hurt to have the application and testing done, but if your student wants to wait on having that done, they can as well. Okay, Miss Anna, you may have to help me with this question. I see some stuff I don't think I know. Have STEM kids taken the testing for the TSCI?
Yes, again, that's another question that I will put on my list of questions that I need to ask somebody else because I'm not sure about that. I'm guessing she's referring to the STEM Academy students, and I'm not sure if that is something that they all take or is whoever wants to take them the test.
What junior high has the STEM Academy?
Manville Junior High.
Manville Junior High, yes.
Okay, so Manville Junior High is one of my feeder campuses. I don't know that I'm trying to think about my experience last year. I don't know that all of those students were required to take the TSI, but certainly.
I don't think they are, but we'll make sure of that.
Okay. Can my 10th graders start in the spring? Ms. Nicole, I'm going to say it depends on what your student status is right now. If today your student already has TSI scores that are meeting the college readiness standard, and they have an active application, and there's room in the classes, then possibly. The reality is that the college plans for seating in the classes, when we talk about that April 1st deadline, we have to turn our numbers in. So I would say have your 10th grader go talk to one of the advisors to see where they are. It is possible that the answer to that is no. And if the answer is no, I would encourage your 10th grader to consider summer courses, right? Are there different branches of ACC? ACC has opened a campus, ACC West, where we are offering courses more towards the Pearland area. Those are not dual enrollment courses necessarily. When we talk about dual enrollment courses being offered in person, those are offered at the high schools. If a student waits until 10th grade, does the student have to take more classes in 10th grade? So we try not to give our dual enrollment students more work just because they're in dual enrollment, right? So they would be selecting dual enrollment classes as electives instead of, like, if you took Art 1 9th grade, instead of taking Art 2 in 10th grade, you might pick up 2 dual enrollment classes instead. So we're not going to give your student more high school graduation requirements, but any of our courses that would help with high school graduation towards those electives, generally that's what your 10th grader would end up taking. Oh my goodness, this is a good question. Coming in a little bit late, but such a good question. What happens if you do not complete enough hours for an associate's degree? Can all the DE classes taken and credit received still transfer and help? So one of the wonderful things about education is that is something that no one can take away from you. Once those hours are on your ACC transcript, that transcript goes with you to your next college or university, right? So I attended ACC in the very late 80s and early 90s, and I can go in right now and I can pull my transcript up from ACC. Those hours are still there. So if your student earns 15 hours or 30 hours or some combination, then yes, your student would want to bring those hours with them to their next college or university and get those credits transferred over. Should 8th graders talk to their advisor in junior high or the high school advisor to set up to take dual credit in 9th grade? So I can speak to the process last year. You know, Alvin ISD is a wonderful host for Alvin Community College, and as advisors, we really have to follow the guidelines that those high schools and counselors put in place for us. Last year, when the 8th graders were doing their 4-year planning and meeting with the high school counselors and their parents, that's when the ACC advisors were sort of looped in. I want to say that happened last year, maybe in February. So I would say at this point, prior to those 4-year plans, they need to speak with their junior high counselor, and then we'll meet with your students during the 4-year plan process with Alvin ISD to have a discussion about, dual credit, setting up your degree plan, such as that. However, your student can go ahead and get the application completed and be on the alert for TSI testing at the junior high to make sure that's all in place for when we show up to do the 4-year plans. Can parents sit with students during the process? I can't speak to the other campuses. I last year went to Rodeo Palms and I went to Manville Junior High, and the parents and the students and the counselor and I were all involved in the process. I would anticipate that's the same at the other high schools.